guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, doing a super quick video today because I just wanted to talk about a couple more things I haven't really talked about, and a few people in the Halloween community have spoken about these things, but they're not as spoken about as some other things in the community often are. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to be talking about some new props that have been released that I actually think are pretty decent. As well as that, we're also going to do a quick catch up on one or two props I've already talked about, but I just wanted to sort of finish off that conversation, if you like. So now let's get into the video and let's talk about some props released from Sam's Club. Ooh. So before we talk about the Sam's Club props that I want to talk about, I first of all just want to revisit just a couple of things that we've already spoken about. The first thing I want to talk about is the vampire prop from Home Depot, which the story continues to get weirder and weirder around, because now we've seen 3 different pieces of footage about the exact same prop, technically 4, but each time the footage we've seen new footage, this prop looks different. First piece of footage we saw that you might remember I did a video about last week. This prop looked, I thought, pretty good. Now, yes, the critique is that it doesn't have a lot of movement. It's just doing this, but it's better than some, right? And it still looked like a pretty decent vampire prop, even though in that video, the lighting didn't really highlight many of the features particularly well in the detail. So it was hard to make a full judgment on it. But then like 2 days later, we saw some footage that I found questionable, and it was footage of the exact same prop by someone else who'd also bought this prop on eBay. Sorry if you're this person, I don't mean to be rude, but the prop didn't look very good. Like, it was okay, but it was also very different. The eyes looked like they were a different shade, whereas the first prop had very yellow eyes. This now had more like deep red or orangey red eyes. The mouth movement was really weird as well. It was less neat and tidy mouth movement, if that makes any sense, and more like flap, 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 like a flap, flap, flap kind of a movement, like the kind of movement you'd have on a puppet. You know what I mean? Like really over the top, not very good. And I don't know, there was just something about this second prop that didn't look as good as the first. So then I started having conversations with a few people in the community, and we were all kind of deciding to ourselves, why is that? Why is it that it looks so weird and so different? And the only answer we could come up with was that these 2 props are prototypes. They're not going to be the finished product that goes out on the shelf. Hopefully. They're prototypes. They're the sorts of props that basically when they were developing the prop, this was the developmental stage, and they were sort of seeing what worked and what didn't, and that's what these props are. That kind of filled me with a little bit more confidence around these props, because I really want to like this, and I hope that the finished result is really good. And then we've seen a third piece of footage, and this third piece of footage is useful in one respect, because for the first time we can properly get a real good look at the costume. And I think the costume looks really good on this. I think it looks like really official, like a real fabric, not that cheap stuff they put on a lot of props. It's real fabric, it's like a real suit. It looks really well detailed. I like it. But again, the animatronic itself, the face mold, the mouth movement, though better than the second piece of footage we saw, I would argue wasn't as good as the first animatronic we saw. And the eyes this time looked a different shade again. Less yellow, less red, slightly more orangey. So I'm very, very confused. Very confused. I think a lot of people are exactly what these props are that people have managed to get their hands on. Are they the finished result? Are they prototypes? No one seems to fully have an answer. And I suppose the only answer we'll get is when we finally, come on Home Depot, see some proper footage out of Home Depot. Until then, it's a mystery. The second thing I wanted to quickly talk about is the Costco 10-foot Alien, which we've also seen some footage of. Somebody who's bought it and set it up in their house, and they filmed it. And I don't want to be harsh, I don't want to be mean, but it doesn't look that good. I like aliens, and I wanted this prop to be so good, and the chances are it'll still come to the UK, so I really wanted it to be good. But it's not that good. It's okay. It's okay, but it is exactly what I hoped they wouldn't do with this. It's the voice. It's the sound. So I'll show it the clip of it in a minute, but what you'll hear is the phrases, a 1950s cartoon of what an alien would sound like. It's like, hello, take me to your leader. Okay. Really high-pitched, really over the top, a bit ridiculous, a bit silly. And I didn't want that from this prop. I didn't know whether I wanted serious and dark particularly, because it didn't look like a particularly dark or menacing alien, in honesty. But at least something that makes sense to it, like maybe a more ethereal voice, like, Earthlings, we come to warn you of oncoming doom. You know, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Something that suits that tall, slender, kind of weird, ethereal-looking alien more than take me to your leader, I don't know. Like a Dalek or something. It just doesn't sound right. And then it's like the phrases themselves, not only are they in this weird voice, but it's all very family-friendly. It's like, take me to your candy. It's like, oh, I actually rolled my eyes when I heard it say that. It's just not what I hoped for. And the other thing that annoyed me, I always knew it was going to annoy me that its mouth doesn't move to these phrases, but I kind of in my head said to myself, it's an alien. It's speaking to me telepathically. But the second annoyance is that because that mouth doesn't move and because the thing is 10 foot high, you can see right up behind the jaw into the mechanism that drives the head where the servos are. So it takes away the illusion. There's nothing there that's hiding it. When I have my 10-foot Reaper, who's also got servos in the neck, he's wearing a hood. So you don't notice the mechanism that's turning his head quite so much. And you can't, and because his jaw's moving when he talks, you don't notice it as much. This, it's really blatantly obvious. And I would have preferred them to have found a way to hide that a little better, or to have actually had this guy move his mouth. That would have been something else. So overall, little bit disappointed with that, not gonna lie.
Take me to your leader. We have come here for your candy.
But now we move on to the main reason I'm making this video. And that is some awesome props from Sam's Club. Now, I don't talk about Sam's Club a lot on this channel, mostly because I don't know enough about it. And the vibe that I get from the US and Canada, tell me if I'm wrong, is that Sam's Club is not a high-end shop where you buy all your high-end things from. It's kind of mediocre. It's kind of like a cheaper store that sells okay stuff. But for a lot of people, particularly within the Halloween community, this is not a place they're all dying to get their hands on some props. Tell me if I'm wrong. But when I saw these props released, when I actually saw them physically, I was surprised. I thought, wow, this looks good out of Sam's Club. I like these. So the first prop I want to talk about are probably the most generic of the range we've so far seen. And that is this dual pair of witches. I think they're called the Crystal Ball Witches. And they're exactly the sort of thing we've seen a million times before from a million different places. They're a couple of witches, old school witches, with the sort of yellow light up eyes. One of them's holding a crystal ball, the other's sort of peering into the crystal ball, and they're talking back and forth to one another, talking witchy phrases. But I like them. I really like them. I think you can't go wrong with classic witches. I think you can't reinvent the wheel. Witches are witches, that's what they are. These look very witchy, they're perfect for Halloween. I like the costumes, I like the hair, I like the phrases, I like the crystal ball. Simple as they are, and though we've seen them a million times before, or their likes a million times before, I like them. And you know what? If they weren't too expensive, which I get the feeling they're not, I'd buy them. They're pretty awesome.
Say the spell. Another mortal is coming our way. We don't want to miss our chance again.
Yes, don't rush me. I must focus all my energy through this crystal. Not as easy as it looks, you know.
Well, you'd better hurry. Halloween is nearly here.
I think the one that a lot of people have seen and are kind of like, this is cool, and I think it's cool, is a prop that I think is called the Triple Scare Reaper. Now, I like Reapers, and this Reaper looks pretty cool. When I first saw him, standalone Reaper, He's pretty tall, he's pretty impressive. He's wearing a purple robe, ever so slightly different to what we're used to seeing. He's got red LED eyes, and he's a standard looking Reaper, but I would say quite an impressive looking Reaper. He certainly looks the part. But the thing that sets this Reaper apart is his action. And it's not one action, but I think this thing's got like 5 different animatronic actions. It's actually very impressive. You don't see props usually with this amount of movement and animation. So he's clearly a Reaper, and he talks, and he's talking, and his mouth moves, and he's saying phrases. He's also doing this kind of weird swaying motion, which I don't fully understand why he needs to do that, but okay, why not? But I think the thing that sets this guy apart and why he's called Triple Scare is because at some point as he's speaking his spooky phrases, not 1, but 2 skulls pop out from inside the robes that he's wearing. And it's like literally a little curtain draws back within the robes and a skeleton head flips out 2 times. 2 of them do it. 1 right in his chest, 1 rather worryingly in his groin area. And I thought that was really cool. They're all speaking in unison. They're saying the same phrases. They're ending each other's sentences. It's really cool. It's really fun. It's definitely a family-friendly prop. It's definitely nothing too dark and scary about this. But the animatronic level here is quite high. There's quite a lot going on with this prop. So I think if you want to grab yourself a bargain that will definitely keep people entertained and definitely has something different about it, I don't think you can go far wrong with this guy. I actually really rate him, even though one of the skeleton heads is definitely popping out from the private parts area. Not sure that was a wise choice.
Hello there, trick-or-treaters. Come a little closer. We'd love for you to join us this evening.
Yes, and for all eternity.
Happy Halloween!
The third prop is also very cool, and it's also another Reaper. At first, I thought it's just a big Reaper. But no, this is the 10-foot Archway Reaper. And I think this is cool too. Not only is it a cool looking Reaper, and he's holding 2 great big lanterns, but he's an archway. So you'd put this guy at the entrance to a haunt or part or along a path for people to actually go under, like through the Reaper's legs. But still, it looks really, really phenomenal. I think this is an impressive thing. I like the lanterns. I've got a thing about props with lanterns. Any prop with lanterns, I'm a sucker for. And this guy's holding 2, and they look really impressive and flicker flame effect. So really, really cool. Cool looking Reaper. You get to walk through him like an archway too. He would look great at the entrance of anyone's haunt. I'd actually consider buying that and getting rid of my like Medway Manor sign thing actually, because I think that's really cool. I enjoy that whole idea. And I don't think you can go too far wrong with that. What I find interesting is that I've only seen a handful of YouTubers actually talking about these props from Sam's Club. And I find it interesting that there's not many people talking about them, despite them actually being relatively impressive props that are not very expensive. I'm just going to say something which I know is going to be a bit unpopular, and it's that I think that sometimes a lot of the Halloween hype is around the wrong stuff. Like, at the exact same time I first saw these first few animatronics released from Sam's Club, and I was looking at them thinking, wow, these look pretty good. I couldn't find a single YouTuber at first talking about them. But what I did see was one video after another talking about Spirit's Barnaby the Bear. And don't get me wrong, I like Barnaby the Bear, but it's a bear on a ball. It's not exactly something mesmerizing that no one can get their heads around. It is a furry bear balancing on a ball and growling a bit. It's not that big, it's not that impressive, it's not that amazing. And that's all it does. And if you think that's cool, that's fine. You think it's cool. I think it's pretty cool. But I just find it interesting that the level of hype around Spirit's range of props, which I'm not going to lie, with a few exceptions, is pretty mediocre, I would say, this year.
I beg your pardon?
There's a lot of attention given to the Carnival side and not a lot of attention given to everything else. And you've got this bear that's just a bear on a ball. That's all it does. It doesn't matter how many times you talk about it. It's still just a bear on a ball. And yet here you've got some, yes, not, again, the most amazing props in the world. And they're certainly very family friendly, which is not a thing a lot of people go for. But they're actually different and new and innovative and cool looking. Except maybe the witches. But again, they're still cool looking. And I think that sometimes the community as a whole gets very, very, very obsessed and hyped around things that are not that impressive. And they miss out on a lot of things that I actually think are pretty impressive. And maybe I'm on my own, and it's okay if I am. But I think that maybe this year, I think particularly, I'm sat here watching the community go absolutely hypersonic around Spirit and their lineup. And the whole time I'm like, am I seeing something that other people aren't seeing? Like, some of this is good, some of this is impressive, it's okay. But a lot of it is pretty meh. And I'm not saying it doesn't deserve the hype. I know there's a lot of people out there who absolutely love Spirit. And because I'm from the UK, I'm 100% an outsider looking in. But as an impartial outsider looking in, I'm looking in going, why are they so hyped about this stuff? It's a bear on a ball. Like, they're going insane for this bear on the ball. Am I missing something? There's a Reaper over there with 3 heads popping out. One of it's coming out of its crotch. But they're obsessing over a bear on a ball. Am I missing something? That's how I feel. I feel like you're maybe, possibly, some people are obsessing about the wrong stuff. Maybe? I don't know. I've probably just not made myself many friends there. But you know what I mean? That's how I view it as an outsider. That I appreciate it. I get it. I think it's pretty cool. But I think you're missing out on an awful lot of other really cool stuff. Because you're looking at this stuff that's a bit... But that's just my opinion. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me today. It was a real quick one. And I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.